If you're a heating and air conditioning technician or a salesperson, how many repetitions does it take for you to find out if a process is working for you and if you're doing good? This is an important question. I'm Scott Silverman. I'm coming to you live from Sacramento, California on a perfect day to talk about sales and a perfect day to talk about you for HVAC technician sales secrets. So this is a common question that I get from business owners. This is a common question I get from managers. This is a common question that I get from technicians is, Scott, in the short term, how fast can we see a bump? Because like if I pull my team out of taking calls, I'm going to miss revenue. And that's absolutely true. But you will also miss revenue if you don't train. So it's a double-edged sword here. I'm going to share with you some information based upon being a corporate trainer for 10 years, okay? So when we would bring people in and they were brand new, they had never been in the field, we would start them off, with a door approach, whatever door approach that may be. But we would really base our judgment on their club membership sales. If they were brand new, maintenance plan, whatever partnership plan, whatever you want to call it. And we would say, hey, look, here's what we're going to do is we are just, so you know, technician, we're going to judge you in the short term on your first 10 calls, okay? That's how we're going to look at it. You're going to start on a Monday. We're going to bring you in on a Thursday because on average, you're going to run 3 calls a day. And then we would bring them in and we would say, okay, tell us what's going on. And we would ask them up front. We wouldn't say, hey, are you doing this? Are you doing this? Are you doing this? No, because they would say yes. So we'd say, hey, role play with us and show us what you're doing. And within those first 10 calls, we were able to catch a lot of what they were doing right and what they were doing wrong because before they were in the field, they were trained. So if you're like, hey, Scott, how do I judge training real fast? Look at the first 10 calls, see what happens. And if the person is interactive, if they're implementing, you should see a bump. You should see a raise. That person should be closing 20 to 30% of the people that they meet with. Exceptional people will get 50. I've had people come in and after the first week of training, they were closing 7 out of 10. It just depends upon their personality. It just depends upon what's going on. So let's take it to the next level. Let's go to parts. Okay, so that person would be sent out on maintenances. They would go do cleanings and they really didn't have to upsell on parts, but they did have add-on sale conversations they could have. So we would teach them an add-on sales process. Same thing. We would judge it within 10. We would say, how many attempts did you make? We would watch through the notes. How many attempts did you make? And it wasn't always going to be 3 days. It could have been a week. It could have been a week and a half that they made those attempts and we would mark it. If somebody hadn't made attempts for add-on sales within 20 calls, we would bring them back in and we would do some training. So this is why you should join HVACTechSecrets.com because I will share with you the goods of things that I'm not going to put on Facebook and things that I'm not going to put on YouTube. And it's important for you to understand that like when we talk about training and practice, there has to be a commitment level on the part of the company and there has to be a commitment level on the part of the manager to manage. There has to be a commitment level on the technician or the salesperson to actually implement what they're supposed to do. So if I give you a recipe for cookies and you only follow half of it and you're like, your cookies are nothing like the ones that you fed me because we changed the recipe, you gave us this recipe, we only followed half of it, we didn't get cookies, we got cake, well, then there's a problem. So take the time to judge your calls when you learn a new process and you actually implement it on 10 calls. 10 is the magic number. And for some people, it may take 20. But like we're talking short term. Long term, I always say, hey, judge on 100, which is about 6 to 8 weeks for a technician. For a salesperson, it's about 6 weeks that you want to judge what they're doing with calls. But here is if you're a business owner or manager, the strategy that really does help. Once a week, have your people come in and go over numbers. And in the beginning, people freak out about it. They're like, hey, I don't necessarily want to go over my numbers in front of everybody else. And that's usually the low performer. The guy or the girl who's crushing it's like, yes, let's go over numbers. My numbers are fantastic. Tell everybody you know, write them on the wall, big letters, spell my name right, okay? So if you're looking for a short-term bump, absolutely, training will do it. The thing that carries it over to the long term is consistency, action, role play at least once a week. So the top performers that I've worked with and the top performers that I trained, we work together every single day. They would come in from 6 to 7 in the morning on their own time. We would role play, we would practice, we would correct, we would videotape, we would come up with the most insane objections possible. And that's how we were able to get momentum. Momentum to the hockey stick to the right is what they look at in financials. Okay, we were able to get momentum from consistent action and the yield was higher because of more consistent role play and practice. So you're like, hey Scott, just give me the goods. You need to judge on the short term on 10 calls, which is about 3 days worth of work. Bring the guys, bring the girls in, have them role play again, and show them what you're doing. There you go. You got one thing to do from here. Just one thing. Find the subscribe button, click on it, and every time I send out a video, you'll get an update that says Scott Bell sent out another fantastic video for HVAC technician sales secrets. You should watch it, which you should. We'll see you soon.